Well, there's lots of stuff that's happening offside the racetrack, which is a good thing because again, most of these races haven't been terribly exciting. This was, I thought, was a better race than most.
Yeah, it was a good race. Well,
you know,
that race looks good. I mean, regardless, even if it's a
Mm-hmm.
sucky race, that Charlotte track under the lights, I mean, that's a good looking race. I think, and I think that's a big part of the show. It's a show,
yeah.
So it looks like an event, and it was kind of interesting. There were some lead changes and stuff going on. But I went, and we'll talk more about the race, I'm sure, as the show goes on. We're going to have Jeff Hammond on later on in the show, who's one of our all-time great guests, and we'll talk about some of the stuff in the fast lap. But I want to go back to old time on pit row. Before I think almost the first week that we were on, or going to be on an hour long, we were assigned to go do a movie review.
Yes, we
It
were.
was you and I don't remember who the critic for the Toledo Blade was. We had to go watch that Driven movie.
Driven
was the
Sly Stallone.
It was an IndyCar movie with, I think, produced and directed by Sylvester Stallone. And he starred.
Yeah.
And so we went and watched this thing, and it was just God.
It made Days
awful.
of Thunder seem like a great
made,
movie.
It made Talladega Nights look like serious cinema to me, but we didn't know that until a few years later. But last week I got a chance to go see the new Formula One movie Rush, which is based on the 1976 Formula One season and the rivalry between Niki Lauda and James Hunt.
Mm-hmm.
And I went in. That's one of my favorite periods, and I was much more of a Formula One road racing fan than a NASCAR fan back when I was, at that age. And so I was
back when you were 50.
Yeah, something like that, or 51 maybe.
50, you can't do
I
that.
just did. Anyway, you blew my whole train of thought. So I was ready to be disappointed, really. I knew I would enjoy it just because it was going to be about that period, and I liked the story, and I kind of knew some of the backstory, but I was prepared to be disappointed by the production. I was not. It was... I've told you before, my favorite all-time racing movie is Grand Prix, which a lot of people think was kind of dumb.
Well,
but it was
kind of dumb.
It was really, I thought, great. I think I finally got a new favorite. This movie was that good. Lots of kudos to Ron Howard and the actors that played the parts. They were Niki Lauda and James Hunt as far as that goes. But that's not even what I liked the most about it. It was the racing scenes were realistic. They got all the details right. I mean, they had the right cars there, but they also had little details, like I was telling you before the show. The helmets on the drivers, they were the right helmets. These weren't 2013 versions of a 1976 helmet. They had them exactly right. I mean, they didn't look all that polished. They were kind of crude. Some of them were like just taped on, their names and stuff. It was just perfect.
They didn't have a full-faced helmet that was painted flesh color
like,
in the front.
Like in the last race on the pole for
Beth like that.
on the pole for the last race at Monza, front row was James Hunt, and Mario Andretti was next to him in the Gold Leaf Lotus, and the John Player Lotus, and they had Andretti's helmet just right. I mean, it was. You never got to see the guy who was playing Michael or Mario Andretti, but the helmet was Mario's helmet. I'm like, damn, they got that right. It was so that was really good. So if you get a chance, if you're a racing fan, go see Rush. It's well worth it.
So do you have to go back and see this movie again so you can watch the movie instead of just trying to pick it apart for trying to be wrong?
I'll own this one. I'm sure I'll own this, but I would go see it again. Absolutely, it was fantastic. Okay. I'm sure I missed stuff, but it was really good. So if you get a chance, go see it.
So.
It's 2 thumbs up from me.
2 thumbs up from Charlie on Rush. Excellent.
Awesome.
Okay.
So,
well, good.
So I digress a little bit from NASCAR, but it was good stuff.
Well, in NASCAR, supposedly, and I don't know who it is, supposedly someone's working on another NASCAR movie, again trying to get it right. And so now they have something to try and better.
Well, I would say, if you could get Ron Howard, that would be the guy to get. But from what I've been told, Ron Howard only likes to do things one time. He likes to do do a project and do the best in that genre and then move to the next one. So you're not going to get him.
All right. Well, Opie is not available for.
I would get his. I'd get his whoever his support crew to do the historic stuff because it was fantastic.
So there were no. Sewer grates flipping up in the air in slow motion or anything?
No, there were some pretty good looking.
That was my favorite part.
Some pretty good looking girls flipping up in the air. James Hunt was quite the player.
Well, he had that long kind of
Hair.
blonde hair. I was
hoping you were going
I was gonna say,
there.
what kind of movie? That's not a Ron Howard movie. If you're talking about that, that's a whole different
No,
program.
this is definitely it's PG. No, it'd be probably what do they call it? It'd be R, I guess. There's some
colorful language.
there's some language. It's not so much the language. There's some action scenes.
Are there? Wow,
Yeah.
good. So our friend Greg will probably want to go see.
I would
this.
think so. I think Greg will probably own this. He probably has the first bootleg copy of it. My guess.
He probably
and has probably watched it several times by now.
I was going to say he probably
Although
sent somebody
he
named,
hated James
named Bubba.
Hunt. He hated James Hunt and didn't like Sterling Moss much, and they had a guy that played. This was back, when Sterling Moss was doing the TV commentator
Right.
for Formula One. So they have a guy who's playing that, kind of did a little bit of narration between the races. He'd be interviewing or talking about the race, and this guy didn't really look like Moss, but it was great. It was fantastic. I'd go see it again right now. In fact, let's stop the show and just go see.
No,
the
we
damn-
got to get the
Oh,
show
okay.
done because
All right.
we've got important
Oh,
things
that's right.
to
We got a
do
baseball
right
game.
after the show.
We got a baseball game to watch.
So we'll do that. So with that in mind, we're going to go to the first break. When we come back, it'll be time for the Fast Lap. So make sure you stick around for that. This is the Fastest Show on Ustream TV.
On Pit Row.